Welcome everyone to the Dr. Abs Healthcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Abasolo, aka Dr. Abs. And on today's show, we have a dynamic brother and sister duo. They're all about health and wellness. We have Laurena Patarkatsi and Jonathan Patarkatsi. Jonathan is the founder and CEO of Down to Earth, and Laurena is the COO and nutrition specialist of Down to Earth, and she's also a doctor of naturopathic medicine. Down to Earth is on a mission to celebrate the healing power of the earth in its most natural state. So we're going to be talking all things health and wellness and great tips and tricks that you guys can use out there in order to enhance your health in a very natural way. So let's get on with the show. Let's bring in Jonathan and Laurena. Welcome, Laurena and Jonathan. How you guys doing today?
We're doing well. How are you?
Good. So happy to have you on. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So Jonathan, you are the founder and CEO of Down to Earth. Laurena, you are a naturopathic doctor, COO, and nutrition specialist of Down to Earth. So love to see that you guys diving into the natural realm of health. Can you guys just talk a little bit about your expertise and your experience in the health and wellness industry?
Sure. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Down to Earth, as you mentioned. Both my sister and I grew up in a very holistic household. My mother and her side of the family are from Eastern Europe. So growing up, we try to heal most things naturally through herbs and try to avoid processed foods when we can. And that sort of led us on a lifelong journey of trying to consume our favorite foods and beverages in a more healthy and holistic way. Which is what ultimately propelled us to pursue the better for you food and beverage industry. And just through our experiences there, we've learned so much about, the importance of the ingredients that we consume, specific ingredients that we should all be avoiding as well, and just things that we could all do on an everyday basis to try to better and optimize our health.
Yeah. Did you guys, was there something that happened throughout your journey when you were growing up that kind of made you go this route? Or was it just something that was always there? Or did you maybe eat unhealthy and then, transform?
Well, so our stories differ a little bit. So for me, we both grew up playing tennis competitively. So nutrition has always been at the forefront of our health. I struggled with disordered eating for many years, which is why I decided to. So I went to NYU and studied nutrition and dietetics. And from that, I was also pre-med and really wanted to look at an individual through their dietary choices, but also all the other aspects of their health. So that's really what propelled me to pursue naturopathic medicine, then, and of course, help manage our drink company, which just provides consumers with healthy, ready to drink beverages.
Exactly. And then for me, I grew up with a lot of the strong pillars that my mother instilled in us with, healthy hydration, nutrition, holistic living. But when we were growing up, it was much different than the way the world is now. Now so much more information is accessible and more people are trying to be more conscious of what they consume. When we were growing up, we were pretty much laughed at and teased over how we consumed. So for me, seeing the disparity in what we viewed as the right way to live and eat versus what the rest of society looked at as, what's the correct way to eat and live, really motivated me to try to bridge that gap and make it more accessible and more acceptable to take care of your health and not be looked down upon for that.
So it sounds like you guys were eating quote unquote boring lunches to the other kids while they were eating pizza and all kinds of junk. You guys were eating healthy.
It's funny. Our mom used to drop off hot lunch every single day to us at school with kale and chicken. And
it was known, all the teachers and guidance counselors that were in the office where she would drop it off were like, what's for lunch today? So we started out being teased over it, and then people wanted to with us. So I think that our reputation sort of changed over.
So your mom was hitting you with the kale before kale was even down the main street. Wow.
She knew what she was doing.
So Laurena, I want to ask you, can you talk about the benefits of naturopathic medicine? Because I feel even though it's 2021 and, like you said, there's a lot of information out there on the internet that people could research as far as natural health and naturopathic medicine. I feel not everybody knows the benefits of it. Can you please discuss that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I'll explain what naturopathic medicine is, because I think a lot of people are not even really familiar with what it is. So basically, I went pre-med and I looked at all the different forms of medicine that we have, right? So in our standard model of care right now, you go see a doctor for about 10, 15 minutes, you bring them a symptom, oftentimes they'll give you a prescription for that symptom. So naturopathic medicine, we really try to look at the root cause of why are you having a certain symptom. That way, instead of just putting a bandage or giving you a prescription medication, which we are still licensed to do in certain states, we're looking at why it is that you have that symptom so we can really get down to the bottom of it. So I think the benefit of it is a lot of people will struggle with something for many, many years and never get to the root cause of it. And as they get older, they're on 10, 15 different medications over the same issue that could have been addressed much earlier on. So the benefit, in my opinion, of naturopathic medicine is you're getting a doctor to sit with you and be your cheerleader, really, and you're getting the full story. Like an intake with the naturopath can be upwards of 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. So you're really understanding why someone is the way they are. You really understand their story, how they grew up, their lifestyle, and you're really able to treat an individual as an individual, right? Because there's no one right treatment for every single person. And you're really able to heal them on a more wholesome and holistic level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you when it comes to, getting down to the root cause of the problem. Like I deal with a lot of people in chronic pain. They have multiple herniated discs and whatnot for back and neck pain. And, they're pretty much getting cortisone shots, and, some have gone through surgery and just popping pills like crazy. And like, they wonder why the problem has lasted for 10 years, and I, hone in on the actual disc and heal them with spinal decompression, deep tissue laser therapy. Like you said, nutrition is very important, getting an anti-inflammatory diet, into their system. And, lo and behold, they get better after. So I totally agree with you on that. So do you guys do, or Laurena, do you do maybe some testing? Because obviously you sit down with them for so long. Obviously blood work is probably important. You want to see what they're looking like on the inside. Can you talk a little bit about the type of tests that you do?
Absolutely. So I think testing is important for everyone. I think, and now what's really great is actually you can go online and order your own tests as well, because I know there are some physicians who don't believe that you should test certain things at a certain age. So in terms of just standard testing, I think a CBC, which basically looks at all of your red blood cells, could check for any potential anemias as well. A complete metabolic panel, or a CMP, which is going to look at your glucose levels, your kidney function, your liver function. I like to look at a fasting insulin as well, because I don't think you only get that from your fasting glucose.
Yeah.
Your hemoglobin A1C, just to look at your blood sugars. I think looking at your hormones is really important. So you want to look at your thyroid health. So your TSH, you also want to look at your free hormones, because sometimes your TSH could look normal, but you could still have an underlying thyroid condition. I think checking our other hormones, like for males, I think checking your testosterone, at an early age, even in your 20s, because once you are older, you want to be able to look at the pattern of that from when you were younger. For females, you want to look at your estrogen, you want to look at your progesterone. I think checking your vitamin D status is really important. And then, of course, obviously, there's other nutrients that you want to look at. You can look at your B12, your folate. So I have the standard labs that I like to run for people. And then depending on what they're coming in with, I like to look at a marker called ApoB and lipoprotein A, because those also look at your hereditary, risks for cardiovascular disease as well. So I think just having that baseline for individuals is really helpful, so they can bring it to their doctors even years later and do a comparison and see what shifts that they're making in their lifestyle, are helping them.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think that, a provider doesn't do those types of tests and just provides prescription after prescription and, is just treating the symptom when you don't even know what's going on inside their body. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you just made me Laurena just made me do a full, I checked everything, literally everything possible. And I'm so glad that I did, because we broke it down and I was like, have such a good snapshot of where I'm at in pretty much every single department of my health, whether it's hormone health, vascular, and just good to know, especially nowadays. Why not know if you can?
100%. Now, Laurena, you mentioned that you could get it online. Do you have any suggestions for people out there that, want to take a take-home hormone kit or something like that, or to test the things that you talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, depending on whether you have insurance or not, I know that there are certain doctors who will not run certain tests, and therefore you can't get it covered by your insurance. So what I made my brother do, there's a website called Life Extension. And basically you can just, they're a supplement company, but basically what you do, depending on what state you live in, is you can order different panels of blood work. You pay for them through there and you bring that order to LabCorp, and they have LabCorps in most states.
Yeah.
And it's run through LabCorp and then you get your results.
Super easy.
No, Life Extension. I've taken several of their supplements in the past, so I know they're a quality company. That's awesome. I didn't even know they did that right at the moment.
And I think you got everything tested for like under $300 or $400, which is great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was easy, super easy. And then there's the Dutch test as well, which I think are more at home for hormone health. So it's nice that there's more accessible options nowadays so that people could really take control over their own health.
Yeah, and affordable. I mean, $300, $400. I mean, it's an investment in your health. So I hope you spend that money more so than, on the material things for sure.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, talk to me about, how you guys launched and grew this business from scratch, this company Down to Earth, maybe talk a little bit about it and then also how it all got started.
Yes, it was a really great journey, actually. And it started from when we were young. As I mentioned, my mom raised us very holistically. So specifically with what we would consume, we were very mindful of that. So we never had soda at home or, Snapple or any of those drinks. And the nice thing was that since my mom and her family are from Eastern Europe, they knew about so many different herbs and natural remedies for pretty much everything. Yeah. And so what we would do at home is we would spend time pretty much every night making different herbal iced teas that we would bottle and just take with us everywhere that we would go. And throughout the years, people began to become curious about them. We both went to NYU, and I was sort of like the source of it for friends of mine if they were tired or sick or stressed or hungover.
So wait, what's in this tea? What's in this magical tea?
So we have 5 different flavors at the moment. Each one is different, but we use a various variety of organic super herbs and adaptogens. We have flavors of chaga mushroom, ashwagandha, turmeric, ginger. So all really healing and powerful ingredients. And what's great about our beverages is that they have no sugar, no preservatives. We use no citric acid, no natural flavors. It's all real, pure ingredients, very clean and transparent. And I mean, both of us were always really frustrated when we would go to stores and we would see sort of the mismarketed products that people would be buying and giving to, their kids and their families, not realizing the damage that they're doing. Because, if you see a photo of an apple or, a lemon on a product, most people are like, oh, it looks natural. It must be good for me. But meanwhile, a lot of the ingredients that are used in most mainstream beverage products are carcinogenic. And people are chugging this down and they, wonder why they get sick later in life. So that's what really inspired us to create a brand that makes the healing and nourishing properties of the earth accessible to all in a really nice and simple way.
So what is the product called, the tea?
So the name of the brand is Down to Earth. We have 5 flavors. Okay. Each flavor has a different name. So we have longevity, we have tranquility, revival, energy, and liquid gold. Nice. And each one has, different functionality that it focuses on, different ingredients as well. We have caffeine-free options. We have a caffeinated option. And the great thing about them is that they all have 4 or 5 ingredients maximum. So there's nothing in there that you have to Google. There's nothing in there that will cause any confusion. It's super, super clean and easy.
So very transparent. Everything's on the bottle or on the package.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned. No, go ahead.
No, I've said everything's on the packaging, and very clean and simple.
So you mentioned, obviously you guys have been drinking teas like this growing up. Like, how often? What's the serving size? How often during the day do people have to drink this? And you mentioned some words there that talked about tranquility and whatnot as far as the effects of the teas. Can you actually talk about the benefits that people are seeing?
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of serving size, we write the nutrition fact as a full bottle. Our bottles are 16 ounces. And it really depends. I mean, we don't really sell it as a supplement. It's more so as just a better for you option of a beverage. And we have to be really careful with obviously claims that we make. But I mean, we've had customers who, would drink our chaga mushroom tea that were going through cancer. And I'm not going to say that we are, the reason why they were able to get through that, but we were part of the protocol that helped them heal naturally. So the interesting thing about our product is that we have a very versatile customer base. We have customers who just want no sugar, cleaner, better for you iced tea. And then we have customers who actually are well versed on the benefits of turmeric, of ashwagandha, of chaga, and are drinking it for the functional benefits. So, depending on the flavor that you pick up, you might feel a variety of different things. Like I drink the Tranquility in the evening. It helps me a lot with sleep.
So that has lavender, ashwagandha,
and chamomile. So it's a really calming blend. Our liquid gold, which is turmeric, ginger, lemon, cayenne, and black pepper, I love having during and post workout. It helps me a lot with like any sort of inflammation or aches or pains. We have a really great peppermint lemongrass green tea, which is good for energy as well as digestion. So the nice thing about them is that you're drinking it as you would an iced tea. You don't even have to think about it, but in the same time, you're actually fueling your body with these superfoods that have great health benefits.
Love it, love it. And the one you would take in the morning would be which one?
So I typically start off my morning with Revival, which is hibiscus, ginger, and rose hips.
Nice.
And I just find that it wakes me up. It gets my body started on the right note. It's super refreshing, really hydrating. Hibiscus is really powerful in helping circulation in the body. It's also been shown to be for blood pressure. Rose hips are one of the best natural sources of vitamin C. Ginger, super anti-inflammatory. And for anyone out there who's going to listen to this, hydrating in the morning is very important. A lot of times we get tired throughout the days. And the reason why is because we're just not properly hydrated. And when I tell people this, a very common reaction is, I'm just not thirsty when I wake up. And to that, I say, even if you're not thirsty, you should try to get down, at least a half a liter. I try to get down a liter of liquid, first thing in the morning, and you just feel so much better and more energized throughout the day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I actually tell my patients, I was like, get up, because I pretty much have them in the protocol that I do, like anywhere from 100 to 120 ounces a day. And I'm like, look, you can knock out a big portion of that in the morning. Like I wake up every morning, drink like 2 tall glasses of water, if not more, maybe add some lemon to it. And like you said, it wakes up your organs, it gets you ready for the day, it gets you energized. So I love that. I agree. Not enough people do that in the mornings. I was actually going to ask you about like intermittent fasting. They have no calories in the teas, right? So you essentially wouldn't break the fast if you take that energizing blend in the morning.
Yeah, they're actually really popular with people who do intermittent fast. I fast a lot. And what I love about them is you still get a nice little flavor, even though it doesn't break your fast. So most of the flavors are 0 to 5 calories. We have 2 that are listed at 10, even though they're less, but they're essentially no sugar, no carbs. So they are fasting friendly as well. And it actually helps the fast. I also do 1 day a week, a longer 36-hour fast. And what makes it doable for me is having our teas, because you just want that little bit of flavor. And a lot of times when you're hungry or you feel hungry, you're actually just thirsty or longing for like a little taste of something.
You can kill the hunger pangs with, what you hydrate with. So that's amazing to know. Does it satisfy that hunger? Like, do you feel more energized with the teas when you're doing the 36-hour fast?
Yeah, it helps me a lot. There's been times that I've done just like a plain water fast and I'll start to feel groggy. I'll start to feel a little lethargic. With the teas, I find that, I get that flavor. I have something to look forward to. And because the ingredients also have other functions like detoxification and helping with circulation, I do find that I feel a lot better with them. And I just think in general, regardless of whether it's our teas or anything that consumers drink, there's so many ingredients in most products that people really have to watch out for. And it's tough, nowadays, because just waking up and leaving your house, we're surrounded by so many factors that affect our health that we can't control. One of the few things that we could control is, what we drink, what we eat. So we want to really be very conscious of what we decide to put into our bodies.
So speaking of that, like, do you have any advice for people out there of what to look for on these beverages that are just simply not healthy and pretty much carcinogenic?
Absolutely. I'd say there's certain ingredients that you definitely want to watch out for. And if you see them on a beverage or even like a food product, a bar, if you can, I would try to avoid them. So with beverages specifically, citric acid is in pretty much every beverage. And most people assume that it just comes from lemons. It doesn't. If a brand uses lemon juice, like we use organic lemon juice, we list it as lemon juice. Citric acid, the challenge with it is that oftentimes it's derived from black mold, and you don't need to actually state that as a company. So, there's drinks that seem relatively clean, and then you see the citric acid in there, and that corrupts it. Natural flavors is another big one. Natural flavors are essentially
Deceiving.
Yeah, they're in pretty much every beverage, and any natural beverage, natural flavor contains at least 50 to 100 chemicals that they don't have to cite. You don't need to know where it comes from.
So it's like they replace the sucralose and aspartame with natural flavors, and people are thinking that it's totally healthy or healthier.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of people are not being educated on this. So the intent is there, right? To find healthier options, but unfortunately.
Yeah, we're allowed to mismarket in this country. And, there's brands who even write like other natural flavors on the front. They advertise it because the wording is so tricky that people see the word natural and they assume I'm good to go. And that's pretty much in everything. And then another really big ingredient to watch out for with a beverage is colorings. Almost every mainstream bottled iced tea uses caramel coloring, which is a carcinogen, or red coloring. And they're found in a lot of the mainstream beverages, even the ones that are in like the better for you category. So those are things that I'd watch out for sure, especially with what you're drinking.
Good to know. Good to know. Laurena, I want to ask you, obviously going back to all that testing that you do with your patients, what do you notice out there is like your main protocol when it comes to nutrition and supplements that helps your patients out? Like, are there specific supplements that, hey, look, a lot of people are deficient in this. This is something that you should have in your staple always, like let's say a vitamin D3 supplement. Obviously, I know we could get it from the sun, but people nowadays, they live in the cubicle and then go home. They never see the light of day. So just things like that. Like, is there a specific protocol of must-haves when it comes to supplements?
Yeah. So typically the things that I see most people low in, I would say just omegas. I see that the HDL, which is considered your good cholesterol, is typically low in a lot of individuals. So usually an omega supplement, I would say probably 75% of my patients I prescribe to. With women, you want to obviously make sure, because we have a menstrual cycle every month, you want to make sure that your iron levels are sufficient. And you also want to make sure, I didn't mention this earlier, that you get your ferritin checked. Because sometimes if you just look at your CBC, it looks like you may be anemic, but you might actually be. So sometimes I'll supplement iron for females, but of course you want to get your levels checked. Definitely, like you mentioned, vitamin D, there's a pretty big range. It's like 30 to 100. So you could be on the low end of normal, but we know that vitamin D has a lot of benefits. So I would definitely say vitamin D is one of them. Right now, just as general immune support, I'm a big fan of taking zinc with quercetin. Just with COVID and flu season, you want to make sure you take that after you've eaten, just because zinc could make you a little bit nauseous. And I do test magnesium levels, and I do find that a lot of people are deficient. It's just not in our food source anymore. So I usually often will recommend a magnesium as well.
Yeah. No, I actually take magnesium at night. It's just like a natural muscle relaxer for me. It just helps me sleep better, along with the other like herbs and stuff that I take. So what other tips can you guys give the audience when it comes to just improving overall health?
Well, I think a big thing that most people don't realize is that even if, you're very mindful of what you drink, what you eat, you exercise, you're still sort of retoxing every day. We're surrounded by so many toxins. And I think that doing some sort of detox periodically is very important. As well as, fasting is one form of detox that's very beneficial. And there's different types of fast. You don't have to do 36 hours. You don't have to do it every single day with the intermittent fasting, but doing some sort of fasting in your protocol could be extremely, extremely beneficial. And then there's other ways to detox as well. We're big fans of infrared saunas. Also doing a nice ice bath or cold shower could help flush out some toxins as well. And also taking a binder, something like a charcoal or a clay once in a while could help bind up some toxins as well. So those are some things that I see a lot of people struggle with, is sort of this influx of toxins, and there's no pathway to get rid of it just on its own. So detoxing is something that I always recommend. And then
so for me, I just like to keep it simple. And I think for everyone, it's really different, but I would say just give yourself an hour of the day to do the things that you enjoy. I think it can be, obviously you want to make sure you're eating properly. Yeah, you're eating properly and you're drinking properly, but I think we're just already so stressed that health shouldn't be stressful. So take an hour, do the things that you enjoy and take time for yourself. And oftentimes I think that's where it starts. And if you're showing yourself that love and that appreciation, all the other stuff will follow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And now, Laurena, what about the actual food portion of a protocol you have for a patient? Like, what advice would you give there? Do you have your patients on a particular diet, or for the most part, hey, this is what works for most people? Or, what do you prescribe as far as diet is concerned?
So for me, it's actually really individualized. I like more so of a Mediterranean style for most people. I think for some people, keto is great, but I don't think it's for everyone. And I think people get on these trends and then you look at their labs and you have to consider, are you a male, are you a female? Where are your hormones out? How old are you? So I would say try to eat mostly vegetables if you can, 70% vegetables, whether you're vegan, not, you can have a little bit of protein. I think carbs are okay. I mean, we're kind of proof that we follow more so of a vegetarian, pescatarian diet, that we eat a lot of carbs, and our fasting insulin, our hemoglobin A1C, our glucose is actually really, really good. And
we
our
have lots
cholesterol.
of fruits. Yeah.
So I think it's really individualized, which is why I think that, checking your blood, seeing where you're at, and then we can adjust the protocol specifically for you. But one thing that I do like to incorporate in almost everyone's diet is some sort of fasting.
Yeah.
So
now, what do you recommend? Because I get my patients started on like a 16-8 window. I actually do 18-6 a lot. Haven't gone the 36-hour route, but that's maybe my next goal. But usually I'll stick to those two. But for my patients, it's a tough transition for them sometimes when they're so used to eating right when they get up and they're used to that breakfast and whatnot. What do you recommend when it comes to your patients?
So for me, I kind of look at their lifestyle like you. So I'm someone, I just did a 36-hour with him a couple of days ago, actually, which was my first time doing that.
And you were fine.
And I was fine. Yeah.
You made it through.
So I really like to look at their lifestyle. So I'm someone who I would like to eat a meal at least every day. So I'll do a 24-hour. So I'll say finish eating at 5 p.m. And this is just once a week. This does not have to be every day, but have an early dinner or a late lunch at 5, and then you can eat again at 5 the next day. And I think mentally that works for a lot of people because they're really just skipping breakfast, lunch. But it really depends, because if some people are really gung-ho on starting with their breakfast, then we can start on a 16-8, see how they feel, and then kind of just try to extend that window a little bit. And then I think, if you drink black coffee, that's fine on a fast. Again, like the herbal teas, I think that's totally fine too. And that makes it really doable. But where I really start is, why do you think you can't fast for that long? Because I think a lot of us have some sort of emotional attachment to the actual food. So I really like to kind of get deeper and see, like, what is this attachment and can we replace it with something else?
100%. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just want to go back. I know you had mentioned omega-3s, which was big in your protocol. Like, do you have any suggestions out there for people on a specific omega-3 supplement? Because I hear a lot of, in the industry, a lot of those oils are like already rancid on the shelves and whatnot. So where could people get that quality omega-3?
So you can get it through your diet, which I do want to say, like getting your good fats from, salmon, if you can get wild, that's great. Avocado, stuff like that. There's one supplement that I personally like. It's called Pro Omega.
Omega. Okay.
And I like that. You just take 2 capsules of that. If you're vegetarian, you can look at, or vegan, flax oils are really rich in omegas as well. But the brand that I personally like is the Pro Omega.
Got it. And how do you guys, let me transition into the entrepreneurs out there. Like, what tips do you have? I mean, obviously you guys are doing a great job. You're promoting natural health, which I love. And you started this amazing company. Like, what tips do you have out there for somebody that's, maybe you guys years ago looking to start something big?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, you have to really do something that you love. I think we live in a society now where entrepreneurship is praised and promoted, but there's a lot of people who might not actually, want to live the entrepreneurial lifestyle, and they sort of force themselves into it. So I think if you have an idea, or if you have a lifestyle that you want to spread and share with others, that's a good place to start. I think that we're heading into a place where consumers are becoming more conscious, and they want to make sure that the intention behind the product they're buying makes sense. Like with us, we built a brand based around our actual lifestyle. We are the face of the brand. The way that we live is what we're selling others as well. So I think the best tip that I can give any entrepreneur is to start with what they're truly passionate about, because even then, even though you're pursuing something that you love, 85% of the time you're going to be doing things that you don't actually love. But in order for you to really push through and fight for that dream, you have to be so obsessed and so passionate about it that you're willing to fight it out, because it's hard. I mean, even with us, we're obsessed with the business that we've built and with what we're sharing with others, but it's a very challenging corporate driven industry, and you're dealing with things on a daily basis that are very challenging.
Yeah.
And in order to be able to do it in a sustainable way, you have to really be super, super committed to that dream, and also understand that you're going to have to be willing to do the dirty work. It's not all fun. It's not all, going on a podcast or, launching a new product. A lot of the work, 99% of the work actually is the dirty work. And I remember when I launched Down to Earth, at first my friends were like, it's so cool, you're launching your own brand. And then they would see me in their local store handing out samples and fixing shelves and unpacking boxes. And they're like, this is what you have to do? And I'm like, yeah, that's mostly what I have to do on a daily basis. So I think for anyone out there who wants to start a business, make that agreement with yourself that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen, because it takes a lot for sure.
Yeah, I love what you said there. Can you talk about failure? Because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to fail and they never even get started. Can you talk about your journey and how many times you failed to get to where you are today, whether it be a little hiccup in the road, but you're here now. So can you talk a little bit about that for those that, are on the fence about starting their own, entrepreneurial business?
Absolutely.
You fail every day.
Yeah, you literally have small failures every single day, even before we launched. Again, we launched in this industry without any prior working experience in the industry. So when you're developing a brand in this space, there's so much that goes into it. And so it took us a year and a half to develop. And even then it was like, you feel like you're ready, then something else comes up. So there was a lot of setbacks and a lot of tests along the way of oh, this is going to take more than you realized it would take. So we had to push through a lot just to launch the brand. And then on a daily basis, there's failures. You're competing against other brands. You're dealing with, again, like I said, a corporate driven industry, but you have to, like I said earlier, be so passionate about the brand and the product that you're selling, and realize that you're doing this for a greater mission and purpose. And you really don't have a choice in whether or not to just get up and keep going. And so for me, I deal with failure, I'd say in a pretty positive way. I understand now that it's going to be a part of the journey. I also understand, and I think an important lesson for people to really wrap their heads around, is that success is not linear. No company started and just had linear success. And typically the companies that grow and build the fastest are also the first to burn out. So building something great takes a lot of time. That which is the hardest and the longest typically lasts the longest as well. And I think that nowadays with Instagram, with all these entrepreneurs who promote their success on a daily basis, which is great because it's uplifting and it's motivating, it could also leave people feeling like they're comparing themselves and their growth and their success to theirs. And that's what you want to avoid. You have to understand that your journey is yours. You have to just, focus on your path and understand that it's going to look much different than anyone else's. And, even if it takes you 10, 15, 20 years, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so you have to be willing to ride that out. And something that helped me a lot was reading memoirs and autobiographies of very powerful and successful CEOs and entrepreneurs. And these are people that we glamorize in our society. But when we read their stories, we learn that they had huge challenges along the way.
They failed a lot, right?
A lot. And, that shows you that if you just keep getting up and moving forward, success could be right around the corner.
Love that. Very well said. Laurena, do you have any tips when it comes to that? Because I actually wake up, first thing I do, I go to YouTube and I put inspirational videos. Everybody from, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, you name it. I'm listening to that just to kind of get me flowing throughout the day. Any tips for you just to keep yourself motivated and going?
Definitely, especially because me and my brother are two very different individuals, which is why I think it works out that we work together, because I always grew up fearing failure, fearing, hearing a no from someone. So we actually had someone on our podcast and I took his advice and he was like, do something every day where you're going to hear a no. Ask, like, do something that makes you uncomfortable. And then you realize that it's actually not that big of a deal. So I try to implement that into my life a little bit, but I actually also think that, like you said, listening to something motivating, but for me, meditation really helps. So we both meditate, but we do different forms. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves with, oh, well, I can't just sit there and focus on my breath and not think about other things. But I'm someone who enjoys guided meditations. So I personally like the Calm app and I like Insight Timer.
So what does that look like? Like, what is that like? Take me there where you're meditating. Like, what exactly is the whole process?
Okay. So for me, it's very interesting. So recently I started laying with my legs on the wall to help with circulation.
Oh, legs up on the wall.
Legs up on the wall. So I'm laying down. I'm not sitting when I'm meditating. So what I do is I wake up and I'm like, I always make time. So I know that we all are rushed and, I don't have any children, but I know like working moms, there's other priorities there as well. So I'll usually do about 10 to 15 minutes and I'll say, how's my day going to look? What do I need today? So for example, I'll use Insight Timer. So you can kind of base them on like, okay, I need this for anxiety or confidence or whatever it is. So I kind of filter them based on what I feel like I'm going to need that day. So then I turn it on. I'll usually light some sort of incense in my apartment before. I'll also do some saging before as well. I just find that
this is an experience.
Yeah, this is like a whole
Someone
thing.
should record it. I know.
Yeah.
And then I'll just lay down, do that in the morning. I usually wake up very early though, at like 5. So I'll start my day with that, legs on the wall, 10 minutes, and then I'll get my day started.
And visualization. I mean, visualizing your end result and your goal and how you want your life to look is so important. When I meditate, I always try to incorporate some sort of visualization. Yeah. I think that oftentimes we get stuck in our actual reality of today, but we have to remind ourselves, why did we get started? Why did we start this in the first place? What's our goal years from now? And when you visualize that and realize that that will eventually become a reality, it's you as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Vision is everything. I mean, if you don't have a vision, it seems like you're always going to be lost. So you got to find that why, like you're talking about. So guys, this tea that you're talking about sounds amazing. I'd love to try it.
Yeah, we're going to send you a package for sure.
Appreciate that. Where can the audience find this tea?
So we're currently sold in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, Arizona. We also have an online shop on our website, which is drinkdowntoearth.com. We are growing at a pretty steady pace. So we'll be launching in more states this coming year, which we're very excited about. And we actually have customers who live in states that don't currently carry our products, but we have them on a list. So once we do launch in their state, we're going to notify them of that as well. So if anyone wants to go on that list of ours, you could reach out to us directly as well. But we do ship. So we'd love any support and also any questions that we have, because it's not only about our products. We really started the brand in the hopes of changing the future of the food and beverage space. Obviously we're doing that with our products, but I think as consumers, when we realize what it is that we need, we could also try to demand that from the companies that provide us with our food. Yeah. And so it goes beyond just purchasing our product. If we could help you in any way, if you have questions about, what ingredients to look out for in the protein bar that you buy or the cereal that you buy, anything that we could assist people with, that's our mission. That's our journey. The products are definitely a part of that, but it's a bigger mission than just that.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you guys have started something amazing, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I look forward to trying it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll definitely send you over a package, and we're excited to hear what you think.
Appreciate it. Guys, Laurena, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I feel like we covered a lot of things. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And it was great talking to you guys.
It's our pleasure. Likewise, we both really enjoyed that.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
And we'll have you on if you're ever free. We also have a podcast where we talk about a wide range of health and wellness. I'll shoot you an email and we'd love to schedule something with you for sure.
Absolutely. Sounds good. I'd love to be on.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye.